While the world was fixated on America's Apollo missions to the moon in the 1960s, our neighboring planet Venus was the site of some truly terrifying experiments. The Soviet Union, today's Russia, launched a series of suicide missions to Venus. After years of effort and billions of dollars, they built a probe designed to become the first human-made object to land on another planet and capture its images. But what awaited these Russian probes on Venus was a literal hell that stunned their scientists. Today on Global Map Stories, we dive into the Soviet Union's daring yet doomed Venus missions, the ones that finally uncovered the planet's horrifying secrets, how a tiny camera lens cap doomed years of work and millions in investment, and why, even with today's advanced technology, no one has dared return to Venus since. Welcome back to Global Map Stories. In the 1960s and 1970s, the Cold War space race was at its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a fierce competition to prove who ruled space. Both superpowers wanted to showcase their strength and technological superiority to the world. America poured everything into reaching the moon. President John Kennedy had boldly promised to land a human on the lunar surface before the decade was out, a massive claim that seemed almost impossible at the time. The Soviets had already scored early wins by landing probes on the moon first, but when they saw the Americans closing in on a manned lunar landing, they shifted their focus to Venus. Their goal was to prove that if the US could reach the moon, the USSR could conquer hell itself. At the time, scientists believed that Venus and Earth were twins, similar size, similar distance from the Sun. They called these the neighboring planets. But the big difference was completely shrouded in thick clouds. No one knew what lay beneath those deep, mysterious layers. It was a sealed box full of secrets. The Soviets figured the moon could be observed through telescopes from Earth. But if they could reveal the hidden surface of Venus, it might outshine even America's moon landing. And if those clouds hid oceans, jungles, or even alien life, victory would be theirs. With that ambition, the Soviets launched not one or two, but a staggering 18 missions to Venus under the Venera program. Venera means Venus in Russian. Early assumptions were optimistic. Scientists knew Venus had an atmosphere, unlike the airless moon, but no one realized how extreme it truly was. They designed the Venera probes to withstand high pressure, assuming conditions might be somewhat Earth-like. The Soviets kept most experiments secret until success. Failures were hidden to avoid embarrassment. On February 4, 1961, they launched their first Venus probe, but it failed to escape Earth's orbit. They never admitted the failure publicly, claiming it was just a heavy satellite test. They built pairs of probes so if one failed, the backup could succeed. Venera 1 launched on February 12, 1961, the first spacecraft ever sent toward another planet, but contact was lost after just 1 week. It flew silently past Venus at about 100,000 kilometers, but sent back nothing. It's still drifting around the Sun today. 4 years later, Venera 2 met the same fate, lost shortly after launch. Throughout the early 1960s, many attempts failed. These ghost missions were never even named Venera and remain footnotes in space history. Then came Venera 3 and 4 in 1966. These were larger, more powerful probes weighing about 1 ton. Each had 2 parts, a bus to carry it to Venus and a spherical descent module packed with sensors, barometers for pressure, gas analyzers, thermometers, batteries and antennas to transmit data. Venera 3 was designed only to enter the atmosphere, no soft landing planned. It was a true suicide mission, but as it plunged into Venus's violent winds, systems failed and no data reached Earth. On March 1, 1966, Venera 3 became the first human-made object to impact another planet's surface, a crash landing. The next year, Venera 4 brought partial success. It entered the atmosphere without immediate failure and confirmed the air was mostly carbon dioxide. The Soviets initially claimed it soft-landed and measured pressure at 25 times Earth's. But later analysis, aided by NASA's Mariner 5 flyby, showed the real pressure was 75 to 100 times Earth's, far beyond the probe's strength. It was crushed like a soda can, long before reaching the surface. Realizing soft landings were impossible with current designs, the Soviets sent Venera 5 and 6 in 1969 just to survive in the atmosphere. Both had parachutes and about 50 minutes of operating time. They lasted roughly an hour before being destroyed by heat and pressure. No surface data, but Soviets refused to give up. They built tougher probes, the Venera 7, which was a tank-like lander, heavy and reinforced to survive. Scientific instruments were limited to focus on durability. Even so, fate struck again. A technical glitch locked it in transmit temperature mode. But clever scientists extrapolated from the temperature readings alone that surface pressure was 90 times of Earth's, which is equivalent to 1 kilometer underwater. As Venera 7 neared landing, another issue raised. Its parachute tore and it slammed down at 17 milslas. It survived the impact but flipped over, antenna pointing down. Still, weak signals were captured. Venera 7 transmitted for 23 minutes from the surface, the first spacecraft to send data from another planet's ground. The temperature reading shocked everyone, 465 Celsius and hotter than an oven, twice as hot as a pizza oven. During descent, radio signals showed slight frequency shifts, Doppler effect from side winds. Calculations revealed hurricane force winds of 360 km/h in the upper atmosphere, far stronger than Earth's biggest storms. Venera 8 was even more advanced. It carried a gamma spectrometer to analyze soil and a light sensor. They deliberately landed it during Venus's day to measure surface lighting. The sensor confirmed dim, diffused orange light filtered through clouds, enough to see the ground. Venera 8 survived 60 minutes in that oven, miraculous for the era. Venera 9 through 12 marked the program's peak and its biggest frustrations. These landers were massive, over 5 tons, UFO-shaped, with a central sealed sphere protecting electronics from heat and pressure. A crush ring absorbed landing shock and an aero brake slowed descent. Each carried 2 cameras for 360-degree panoramic views, the moment everyone waited for. But disaster struck. On landing, the lens caps failed to release properly. Venera 9 and 10 got 1 camera working each. Venera 11 and 12 lasted 95 to 110 minutes, but both lens caps stayed shut, no images. On October 27, 1975, Venera 9 finally sent the first photo from another planet's surface using 1 camera, a desolate, rocky landscape under yellow-orange light. No sand dunes, just sharp and barren rocks. Venera 13 and 14 were the Golden Era's finale. These included microphones, the first to record sound on another world. Venera 13 captured Venusian wind noises, lander impacts, lens cap ejection, and even drill sounds penetrating the soil. It also detected what sounded like distant thunder, possibly electrical discharges in the clouds. Venera 13 sent the first color images, an orange sky and brownish rocky ground. But Venera 14's mishap is legendary. It had a spring-loaded arm to test soil compressibility. The ejected lens cap landed exactly where the arm deployed, testing the cap's hardness instead of the surface. Millions in effort wasted on a tiny cap. Venera 15 and 16 shifted strategy. No more surface landers. They orbited for 8 months using synthetic aperture radar, SAR, to map the surface through clouds. They revealed 88 kilometers high mountains and thousands of kilometers long cracks. Thanks to these Soviet missions, many secret, many public, Venus earned the nickname Soviet Planet. Valleys and craters bear Russian names. The missions revealed Venus's true nature: 465 TARS surface heat, 90 to 94 times Earth's pressure, a CO2-dominated atmosphere with sulfuric acid clouds, constant super hurricanes, and a rocky, scorched landscape. America called them failures, but these suicide missions gave humanity our only direct look at Venus and proved why no one has returned. Why don't sulfuric acid clouds rain acid onto the surface? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching Global Map Stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Soviet Venus missions, smash that like button, share with friends, and subscribe for more hidden space stories, maps and mysteries. See you in the next one.